You're listening to Were You Still Talking? So here we go. Let me give it a try. Hey, welcome back. This is Were You Still Talking? This is Joel Albrecht, and in my studio today, I have Jill Chalsty. I hope I pronounced that right. I think I'm close. And Jill is the founder of the Community for Education Foundation, the nonprofit publisher of the Overcoming Obstacles Life Skills curricula that has helped more than 180 million students worldwide build essential skills, including communication, empathy, and problem solving. Her work, spanning film, writing, decades of service, centers on a single truth: we grow through the support and care of others. Her recent journey around the world, along with the publication of her memoir, Pockets of Hope, has only deepened her belief when we teach life skills, we empower one another to become better people, and in doing so, create a world where we can all rise together. There is so much more to the story, but I will try to get into it. I'll try to get at least to the tip of the iceberg. Thank you for coming on the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And my first inquiry is, let's see, how do I put this? You took this journey around the world after some huge obstacles in your life. And even without those, I would ask, how do you have the energy? Where do you get
travel around the world
to do all the things you do? You do kind of a lot of stuff. Where do you get that energy, I would say?
I think it all, for me, comes down to there's so many things I want to do to make the world a better place. And the energy comes from this burning desire to right wrongs, help people. That's where I get my energy. I enjoy the work that I do, and that's what gets me up every day. If you had said, "Hey, Jill, take a trip around the world and dine at this fabulous restaurant and go lay out at a beach," I'm not the kind of person who would want to do that. That wouldn't be my motivator. But if you said, "Take a trip around the world, deliver information about overcoming obstacles and the Community for Education Foundation to ministers of education," I would get up very early and work all day. And that would be what motivates me to do all that I do.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. That actually is a very, very good answer. But I was like literally wondering, because you had just been through, your husband had died, yes, and you had been through a battle with cancer, and how were you? Three battles. Yeah. So how were you able to get on that boat? It just amazes me. You just seem so resilient to me.
I had a choice to make, as we all do with everything that we do. And for me, the choice was stop living, give up, or get going, take one step forward. My friend Jean, I write about her, and not to correct you, but it's packets. I think you had said pockets.
I did say pockets.
Yeah, it's okay. Packets of hope. So in Packets of Hope, I write about Jean, and she told me about baby steps. So it wasn't like I got up and I, ran to Brooklyn from Manhattan and jumped on the ship. My friend Gary has a taxi. I got in his cab, this loving friend, and he drove me to the ship. And I didn't crawl onto the ship, but I had a mask on my face. I got on, I was in my cabin, and I ventured out and did more and more each day and learned how to socialize again. I had been basically a shut-in for years, first taking care of my husband and then recovering from cancer surgeries and chemo. So it was these small steps that then, nobody had hugged me other than my husband for years. But when I got to Samoa and met with the Minister of Education's assistant, and at the end of the meeting, she said, can we pray over you? And they literally hugged me. And then I just cried and cried. So everything just built. And yeah, that I don't know, was it Bette Midler, The Wind Beneath My Wings? Was
Right,
it
right.
Beaches? I don't know. I was a sucker for that film. And I just keep thinking about that as each day goes by, all the things that happen that are literally that have been wind underneath my wings to keep flying and going forward.
Well, and I just love that idea for kind of all of us, little to do things in baby steps, is a really good way to, get started to do something. Um, One day with this podcast, maybe I'll get beyond the baby steps and do something bigger.
It's like you've gone
one
way
one day,
beyond baby steps. Well, Jean is a
but
mother of four and a grandmother of five, and
mhm.
she talked to me about baby steps, and it worked.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful way to do things, to get started. So I also love travel. I've always dreamed of traveling around the world, but I've never dreamed of doing it on a boat. Like I don't have a solid plan for how to do it. I love travel. And was there, how long did the trip take? How long was it?
Wow, I left Brooklyn last year, January 18, and then returned home May the 5th.
Wow.
So it was a long time to be away. On that trip, delivering packets of overcoming obstacles information in almost every port to ministers of education. I met two couples, and they invited me over the summer to join them. And so it went from a ship journey to a driving journey. They said, we're going to be here. You come, we'll deliver packets of information with you through Europe. So when I arrived back home in May, I regrouped. My doctors did a follow-up CT scan of my lungs. Before I had left, I had had half of my left lung removed because the upper half, there was a cancer. They could physically remove the lung to get that cancer out. The lower left lung, they couldn't remove that cancer. It was two different primaries. They did chemo and got on the ship right after that. And the CT scan showed that everything was stable when I came home.
Hmm.
And my doctors said, whatever you've been doing, keep it up. So I then went back out. August 1, met the first couple, the Murrays from Australia, and we traveled to Ireland and the United Kingdom by car, and was pretty much a different hotel or a bed and breakfast every other night. It was exhausting, but
Right.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
From there, I flew to Germany, and this German couple that I had met said, we'll drive with you. This Germany has 16 states. We covered, I think, 8 of them. And then
Wow.
I mailed my packets. It was 2 weeks driving with them through Germany. And just now, yesterday, Vinny Capone, who runs Overcoming Obstacles, he's the managing director, he and I sent to 2 of the states in Germany. They had asked for Overcoming Obstacles, which is 1,800 curriculum pages, about 1,800. They had asked for all of it to be translated into German. So
Wow.
it was
Wow.
huge. Like
Yeah.
literally talk about wind. I know you love airplanes and flying, right?
I do.
So
I
this
do.
was like, I was a turbojet. I don't even know, I was a rocket ship to the moon or Mars after, being able to help Germany
Hmm.
get the life skills. So having done ship trips and driving trips, I will say I will try to avoid the driving trips in the future and stick with ship trips.
Yeah,
It's a lot
driving is a
easier.
lot more exhausting. I've taken to flying a lot of places as I age because it used to be if I was going to go to Palm Springs or something, I would drive. Of course, I lived in LA, so it was easier. But it's yeah, I just tend to fly places now, which is it's kind of unfortunate because I do miss the driving. But I'm also guessing this is a wild guess now that you don't have cats.
That I don't have cats.
Do you have cats?
I gotta say, taking care of my husband and then myself, I couldn't take care of
Right.
anything else.
It's just too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
It's
I have my niece loves her cat. I
mhm.
want to know what you're going to say about cats,
Oh,
Joel.
it's just hard to travel. The cats don't
Oh,
like
because your cat.
the cats don't like the. I mean, we do a couple times a year, but yeah, like if we left for a year, we would have to take a cat, which two cats, which would be add a little bit to the journey. There's actually a really good. He started out on Instagram. He was a guy that was going to bike around the world. He is biking around the world. He's still working on it. It's been years. But like one of the first his friend dropped out. So then he was biking around the world on his own. But then he ran into this little cat in the middle of nowhere, starving. I mean, this was in the middle of a country where like nobody really had, they're not pets there. And anyway, it became a huge thing for him to have. He's become a star from having this cute little cat that goes everywhere on his bike with him. It's very funny. A bit of an aside
Taylor
there.
Swift carries her cats in really cool cat carry cases. I saw that.
Who's that? Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift.
I don't know how she could possibly do that with the limited resources she has. It's
She pulls it off.
a lot. I think a fair amount of people in that situation take their animals everywhere. It's easier when you fly private. I'm sure it's so much easier. I would take my cats in. Yeah, I would take my. But what was it? Oh, there's another.
I
There's a
recommend ship travel to you.
yeah
People
ship.
can take animals on the
Oh,
ships.
they can. Oh, that's interesting. There's
They're
a
so
wonderful book about the cat called The Cat That Went to Paris, about a guy. He's a writer, and he got this job going to Paris. And I can't remember how got this cat, but he was not a cat person at all. Like he was not into cats, but somehow he ended up with this cat. And so he decided he would just take it with him everywhere. And it's interesting because he figured out ways. He just like figured out a way to take it. And
impressive.
it's kind of wild. But yeah, that's completely off the subject. The thing that I wanted to touch on was the very first packet that you tried to deliver, or packets. You ran into a problem
In our own country.
in our own
Are you
country.
talking
Yeah.
about Hawaii?
Yeah, when you needed, you couldn't take the packets for some reason.
Wait, okay, I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
exactly the
it's to,
reference, but
the
are you
I
talking
think
about on the ship?
yeah, on the ship, when you were on the ship and you couldn't take them to shore because of some.
The misunderstanding. I
Yes,
faced
yes.
so many challenges from pirate scares to cyclones. We had to blow past a port in Australia and the ship was rocking. It sounded like it was breaking apart. That was well into the trip, but in the very beginning, having put literally months into writing personal letters and getting addresses and assembling these packets that were literally packets of hope,
Hmm.
information about life-changing life skills information. I have my pile of packets on the ship and I had them in a drawer. And one of the young people that worked on the ship, when I was saying to her, oh, and I'm going to bring my first packet ashore, she said, oh, ma'am, you can't bring any packets off the ship. And I was devastated. My heart skipped a beat. I was speechless. I started to sweat and I gained my composure and said, why is that? And she said, oh, somebody had tried to in the last port bring a packet in and they were stopped. And I thought there had to be a miscommunication. She had been from Indonesia and
Hmm.
English wasn't her first language. So I said, look, this is my packet. I went into my drawer. I showed her my A4 envelope. She said, oh, ma'am, that's an A4 envelope. She said, this is a packet. And she pointed to a little thing of little jar of strawberry jam.
Oh,
So
how
for her,
funny
a
to
little,
her.
so
So
you're
that
not allowed to bring food into
right,
the ports. So
because
I was like,
yeah.
oh God, just a snafu like that. Maybe I would have given up being
Hmm.
told I could, but I had too much invested. I was on that ship specifically to deliver the packets. And then just in every port, It was a great challenge. I don't know why I was so naive to think that it would be easy to get into a Department of Education. I couldn't have done it here. I couldn't have just walked into Washington, D.C. with an envelope. So Singapore, Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, Sydney. Of course, it's going to be difficult, but for me, ignorance was bliss because I found a way once I got in there.
And that's something I didn't even think of, that you couldn't do that without probably months of work in the US. It just like, what? So
The phone
now,
addresses, yeah,
yeah,
a lot went
yeah.
in it. And you don't have the right IP address here to get accurate information on international Google searches.
Oh, right.
It's different to search something here than it is in the country. So yeah, I had at one point it was 1 day old information from a port going in because I had looked at that before I got off the ship. But I had years old information, and I
It's
had the wrong ministers of education, had to
it's
cross
so
out names.
yeah, we're so dependent on the internet, and it still works better sometimes to use the phone and make a phone call here for different things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
no, to even get them to pick up the phone, to communicate in their language. I tried the phone calling.
didn't work either.
No, it did not.
Yeah.
So I did my best with the packets. And then on the few occasions where it was the wrong person, ultimately they didn't care. And the trip was hugely successful. We're now working with the entire country of the Philippines, with Tonga, Samoa, many states in Australia, the prime minister, the head of education, excuse me, for New Zealand had sent me a message and sent the contact information for every school principal in New Zealand. They
Wow.
have a
Wow.
very sad bullying problem in this beautiful country of New Zealand. And they needed life skills curriculum. And yeah, Vinny teed it up and we emailed every school principal directly so they could have a link to the website and get all this free curriculum, uh, modify it, use it for their students.
And this is a question, you actually talk a lot about bullying and how that needs to be addressed, and how big of a problem it is now, and has been for a long time. And I was wondering, do you think it's any worse now that there's sort of different avenues for bullying than it was when we were growing up?
Yeah, so because I had been bullied horribly in middle school,
Hmm.
I started this organization, Overcoming Obstacles. And the young woman who had bullied me apologized at our 10-year high school reunion and literally came up to me to make amends for what she did to me as part of a 12-step program she was doing. She wanted to apologize. And she said that what she was doing also was teaching life skills to kids. And had we learned them when we were younger, our lives would be very different. And so I dug deep on that. And yes, I never knew how to ask for help. She was being bullied at home. She never knew how to ask for help. Nobody ever taught us. You just go to somebody, a teacher, a parent who has responsibility that can shut down this ugliness that's happening in your life just by saying, hey, this is what's happening. The war between the two of us just happened. Nobody intervened. So that blew me away. I couldn't imagine that there was some curriculum out there that schools weren't going to teach. And after further investigation, just did it with a group of people and published it. What she did to me, they were terrible handbills. They were posted all over school. She had schools chanting horrible things. The school day ended, the handbills could be taken down. Today was cyberbullying, these
Right.
online posts, these things that are instantaneous. The bullying is, I don't want to say so much worse, but it is truly horrific. It's more prevalent. It's destroying lives. But it did back when you and I were younger too. So I don't want to discount the pain that we all felt, but now this bullying is just magnified and lives forever in an online post.
It lives forever and it reaches so much more people. I mean, I had I was bullied in high school and junior high. I'm sure I was not a very big guy, and bigger guys push around littler guys. That's kind of how it's probably how this world still works. And but it was not ongoing. No, no one put up terrible things about me because no one knew anything about me. But no one did anything like that, which would be really horrible. But now with cyberbullying, it goes out to the entire world. I mean, that's what's weird about it. So
Yeah.
it's like you say, the impact is can't be. I don't want to lessen the impact of what people went through in my generation, but it's I can't imagine personally. I was I had anxiety in high school. I really didn't know that. We didn't name it, There was no names for that. It just seemed like a very uncomfortable place to be when I
Well,
was younger.
so I'm sorry for what you went through. And that's, I think people were either a victim of bullying, they were the bully, or both.
Yeah.
Nobody has escaped or escapes bullying, except for now with teaching life skills. What teachers tell us because of this curriculum, guidance counselors love it, especially. This curriculum helps when you're teaching kids to respect themselves and respect others on day one, starting on day one of kindergarten.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And they learn, well, that small kid, okay, yeah, he's small and I'm big. And yeah, at home, I'm whatever's happening to me at home. But that small kid, he's a great drummer. Or wow, he's got a really good voice and he's really funny. They actually do activities to discover what strengths the other classmates have, and it builds a classroom culture that's
Hmm.
powerful and beautiful. And teachers tell us year after year after year that classroom culture continues, and then the kids are engaged in their learning and not in showing off or disrupting the classroom. So there are solutions to the bullying program, and it's absolutely teaching our kids life skills.
And yeah, that's wonderful that you're putting that out there. That's really awesome. Because I forget, because I'm not a teacher, how early that starts. I mean, the minute you're in a group of little kids, there tends to be uh, some type of bullying. I'm sure something's going
It,
on. Yeah,
Starting in kindergarten with
yeah.
overcoming obstacles, and it's all free, and the activity sheets are in over 30 languages. So starting in kindergarten, fairness, kindness, these are the skills that are being taught.
Hmm.
One of the threads for this summer travel, especially going to Germany, as an American and as a Jewish American, to go to Germany, and I was traveling with non-Jews, the thread of lack of self-respect and respect for others, the lack of empathy and what that meant for that country, the lack of critical thought. Like, did this girl, Sarah, who bullied me, ever sit back and think critically about what she was doing to me and other kids? She didn't. But she says that had she been taught the skills to think critically, the skills to get help from what the horrible things that her mom was an alcoholic, her mother's boyfriend was abusing her at home. So Sarah says that she didn't know how to express that and get help from anyone. But when you teach kids to ask for help, to think critically about their behavior, to respect themselves and other people, think what that could have done. Like I was going to say today, I'd love to talk about life skills as a solution
Hmm.
to all social ills. World War II and the horrible things that happened in Nazi Germany. I spent weeks there traveling all over the country, meeting with people, speaking with people, and they felt like the lack of critical thought is what led to the tragedies that went on in World War II.
That really makes sense to me, and you can trace that. I just watched the documentary about 1776, Ken Burns, and if you go back that far, it's similar. There, if there was more critical thinking about, because people were fighting each other, they weren't just fighting countries. They were all people that came to this country at the same time, and they didn't think about the implications of what they were getting into, I guess. There wasn't, and it's happening today. The same thing is happening that was happening in World War II. And there's a lot of propaganda going around, and a lot of people I think people are being encouraged to skip critical thinking. It's like,
And we can't.
we
Yeah.
cannot, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely cannot. Yeah.
And conflict resolution, when we first started overcoming obstacles, it was around the times of whether you call it the uprisings, the LA riots. It was 1992. We were in Los Angeles. That's where I was living at the time. Rodney King. I mean, all this stuff was happening. And I went to a classroom in Watts, and it was kids from all over, like all different backgrounds were in this at Markham Middle School. And their activity was team building. And these young people, different colors of the rainbow were these children. And they chose as their team building activity to do a poster of the sports that united them. So it was a child from Central America, a child with roots in Africa, a child from the US. So, it was just like this beautiful example of how they could pick something to come together. And then my sister-in-law is working with me now, and she talked about being in a meeting with adults today where there's this huge conflict that just about was coming to the surface, and she wanted to say, go to the overcoming obstacles curriculum and look at the conflict resolution exercises. Count backward from 10, take 3 deep breaths. There are literally things that we can do that kids are now learning in their classrooms to avoid conflicts. It's all so simple and so basic. We just need to teach them.
We need to teach them and remember about them when we're in traffic and stuff. Like, we were neighbors. I lived in LA at that same time, and watched it go insane. That was the riots. Just literally watch those grow from a few burning buildings to a good
It's
part of the
heartbreaking.
city. It's heartbreaking, and it's so surprising that people will just lose their minds that quickly,
But
and
was it that
yeah.
quickly? And was it, and lose their minds? I could ask you to elaborate on that, but was it that quickly? I think it was pent up frustration. And gosh, I'm going to now go down this path. Another thing was like this, like slavery, and what slavery has done, what slavery has done globally. I lived in Charleston, where the slave trade was just a huge thing. So
Mhm.
I knew living there what it looked like to be Black in Charleston. I had been here. This is my sister and I delivered packets in the Caribbean, British Virgin Islands. That was
Uh-huh.
the part of the Caribbean big port going from Africa to say Charleston. So we were in on that Queen Anne World Voyage, Dakar, Senegal, the beginning of the slave trade. My family had a lovely housekeeper. She was my protector when I was little, Naomi Philpott. When I was in Scotland, the Murrays and I were walking down the street, and I saw the sign Philpotts. The Philpotts, it turns out, were big slave traders in Scotland. Naomi, her people, had been slaves in South Carolina. She came up to where we were living in Connecticut, was a housekeeper to earn her money. Like all of this, that it wasn't that long ago that my family couldn't drive from Connecticut to Florida and stop in a hotel. This is during my lifetime
Right.
because they
Right.
wouldn't let Naomi come into the hotel. This is horrible. This isn't like far history. And then for me, to see the beginnings and ends and all of this. And, what are we doing for the white, black, brown, yellow, for all of these people that slavery, the impact is still being felt around our world and in our country. Let's teach life skills. That's how we help people.
I hope that would be a solution, because it seems that
it's certainly one of them.
People don't even look at other people the same as them. I mean, empathy is a big one because people don't seem to have empathy for other people always. I live in a state that had, I believe we still have sundowner laws. I don't think they've ever taken them off the books because they're just too busy or something. But it was illegal for Black people to be in this state after sundown until the 60s, I think. They didn't enforce it, but they could if they wanted. If a sheriff thought that somebody should be run out of town, they literally had laws to do that. And you don't think of Oregon as there was no slavery here, the same as in the South. But the other thing that people forget is that the Civil War was everywhere. So there were bands in every single state attacking people just for being, for believing the wrong things or not being on their side or whatever it is, that.
Think about the Asian Americans too, right? There was a railroad that was built.
Yeah.
So the treatment of our Chinese brothers and sisters. I mean, literally, we're all in this together. Yeah. And this concept, I don't know if you read my book yet, Joel, or if you just got the Cliff Notes, but one of the major things that really moved me was going to South Africa, where my husband was South African, and this concept of Ubuntu. I didn't really know about it until this Queen Anne world journey. And Ubuntu is, we are because of others. We are because of others. And that goes for everything that happens. We're lifted up because of others. We're knocked down because of others. My journey was I healed and became happier and healthier after going through all of my loss and grief because of others, because of the kindness of my family and friends and strangers. So we are because of others. And yes, we teach empathy as an important life skill when educators are teaching the Overcoming Obstacles curriculum.
Empathy is very important. I wonder why we can't, why we are so bent on having a different opinion about people who are a different color. And I always used to think, what if we just didn't see color in other people? But at some point I realized, well, it's actually important. People's history is also important. People's culture is also important. And that would be part of empathy as well, is realizing that everyone has a different history and a different culture and a different place they've come from. And, it would be helpful, if we learn that when we're young. I think that's really amazing. Yeah.
One of the things that I write about in Packets of Hope is these women that sat next to me for weeks. They were dining partners of mine. They were two sisters from Germany. They did not have good English skills. I had no German skills. And
Nicht sprechen Deutsch?
No. And it was.
But you knew what I said.
Yes, I did. Yes, now I do. I spent 2 weeks in Germany, but with Germans as my guides. So these two sisters, it was just like, it was cold, icy between us. And I saw another German couple say to them, Guten Abend. And then the sisters would smile. And I thought, here's my Guten Abend moment. I'm going to break the ice with a Guten Abend. And that's what I did. And we somehow then conversed and got to know each other, and they were lovely, and hopefully they liked me too. But yeah, I think there's fear. There's fear of the unknown cultures and differences. I think too, a lot of us want to protect our resources. So we fear letting other people in because we think that the resources will be diminished instead of looking at it as, well, we can enrich each other by working together.
That's a really good point. That we probably are worried about resources, about managing our resources. I've never really thought of it that way, but that's true. I've become more of an introvert as I've gotten older, and I guess that's part of it. I just don't think I have enough energy for all the different people in the world. I guess I don't know what it is. I don't know how to say that exactly. But I had a teacher in junior high who tried for 2 years to teach me German. Didn't stick.
Didn't work?
It didn't work.
Oh gosh, well, you sounded good with your Sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Well, that was 2 years. She taught German, and I took it because I thought my ancestors were German, and my last name is German. She would pronounce it really good, but it's very hard. It's Albrecht. It's very hard to get those three vowels all together and in the back of your throat. But she was very good at it, and so I learned that much and my name and stuff. But it's and I also, you mentioned the flying. I do flight simulator stuff with people, and one of them is an American living in Germany. So he's very good German speaker. It's fun I love hearing all the languages from around the world. It's great.
I was going to mention Hitler's bunker. It was a shock to go to this place that was Hitler's bunker, and it is a parking lot, and it's not a nice one. It's not a good looking parking lot or a fancy one. It is just a nondescript parking lot. When I asked my guide about Hitler's bunker, just because we're talking about Germany,
Mm-hmm.
I said, wow, there's no sign, nothing. He said, we can't do that because if we do, people will have a shrine. They'll light candles. I was like, oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh.
How horrible is this? But
Wow.
Shifting gears, Joel, back to you not wanting to engage. You probably were shy and didn't want to have this podcast today.
It's amazing.
I'm thrilled that you did.
And so I'm always thrilled when I get on the podcast, but it's true. I'm definitely shy about reaching out to people, and I'm thankful for the online places that I can, find guests now. I've been wanting to reach out to more celebrities just because, well, I'm interested in people, and they always have interesting stories, and I like Hollywood stories, but I'm extremely shy about it, even though it involves sending an email. I don't know why I'm shy about that.
Well,
it's an email.
Hopefully you're going to get the courage. I'm going to validate you now. You're awesome, Joel.
Thank you.
Just go get them.
Thank you.
Call me, text me.
I appreciate that.
Pump you up.
I appreciate that. You can send me Joe Piscopo's number.
I don't have it anymore. He was,
Oh, this was a long time ago.
He was a supporter of OO years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of the things that kids learn from their overcoming obstacles teachers, to surround themselves with positive people and positive things. You asked, how did I have the energy or the drive? Really, it's the positive forces in my life that help me get up. It's my purpose. It's the people. Yeah.
Well, and this is why I love having this podcast, because I meet so many people that I wouldn't meet otherwise. Some of them even in my own neighborhood. There was someone who lives here in Eugene who is a documentary director, and he had done a couple of documentaries, and I went to one of them, the premiere of one of them. I think it was the one about Build-A-Bear. He did a documentary about the Build-A-Bear franchise. He also did a documentary about the last Blockbuster. And so he had interviewed a lot of people for it, but I thought it was really interesting. And he lived 5 blocks away from me. It's so crazy.
That's fabulous.
It's such a small world.
Hopefully you guys are getting together for coffee now.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. He was someone I had in the studio, and we talked for a long time. That was a longer podcast, but yeah.
The 200-minute one?
Um, at least. That was actually another person that I work with in the film community here. And I had he had hired me to do short films. And I always really liked hanging out with him. Because, you mostly hang out when you're shooting some kind of film, no matter what it is, a short film or whatever. You're mostly hanging out. So he came over and, I barely talked to him at length. And that was the 200-minute one right there. Yeah.
Well done.
And it was fun. He was really interesting person to talk to, as are you, and just about everyone I've talked to has been really great. So a little bit about, I always like to ask people, you've written not a lot, not just the book, but you've written The Packets of Hope. Do you set aside time every day for writing?
I wrote Packets of Hope on the Queen Anne. I wasn't able to do group activities because I was born with, or developed as a small child, congenital emphysema. My health issues, it's lengthy list, but so I have emphysema and I still have lung cancer. And when I got on the ship, my blood work was not good. So I couldn't go to the concerts and the talks and, do the group things. So I had a lot of time on my hands, and that's how my nephew giving me a journal to help me with my mental health turned into a memoir. And I just had literally 8-10-hour days of writing these chapters, which were my daily entries that became my memoir, Packets of Hope.
Wow, that's amazing. It's unfortunate that you couldn't participate in group activities, but you were able to write for 8 hours a day sometimes?
Sometimes 10, Joel. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When you have time on your hands and you have a lot of pent up anger and sadness, and then these port visits were fascinating. I did deep dives and had incredible experiences, met fascinating people. And I share all of that. Even on the ship, my God, people were kicked off from fighting. I was almost beaten up twice.
Oh, no.
This is the Cunard, right? The fancy British
oh my
cruise
God.
line. It was I had PTSD after one night. My sister joined me. The ship went through the Panama Canal, went up to San Francisco. My sister got on the ship, and then after dinner, she liked to go to this area to watch people dancing and the music. And I went with her one night, and this couple came up, and the man was just so drunk. He opened his mouth. I had just asked him because there was a lot of space, and I couldn't move to my left, but he could clearly move to his right. And he turned his head, and it was one of those sci-fi movie moments. I had like his red eyes, and I thought fire was coming out of his mouth. It was the alcohol fumes. And if you are part of a fight on the ship, whether you're throwing the punch or defending yourself, if somebody's involved in a fight, it's a strict policy, you're off. So all I could think of was the life skills from overcoming obstacles. But what I got confused about was I couldn't remember if that was peace or that was Spock or that was live long. I didn't know what it was, but I just kept going, peace, peace. And I think he was so like put off and like wondering what this crazy woman going, the Spock sign, instead of, he drew back and he just went into a stupor and went back to the music instead of punching me.
Oh, thank goodness.
And I just never went back to that space again. But he was literally back. He said, "I'm not moving, you move," and fist back.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. People are strange. So this means peace in the U.S.?
Yes, it does. But then come on, I was
This means
nervous.
something different in
Wait,
England.
oh, does it?
Oh, I'm surprised you don't know. This means the same
No.
as what we use our middle finger for in England,
Oh God, thank
and
you for
that's
that.
live long and prosper.
Well, he was
That's be,
British,
that's
so
be,
maybe,
so
so
I
maybe that's
wonder if
so
he
maybe.
thought,
But I did quickly pivot.
yeah.
Come on, man! I pivoted. I did the whatever. I don't know. I love
That's what I
Star Trek
wondered
as a
because
little
he's
girl.
drunk too. He's like, "What is this woman doing?"
It
Yeah,
was,
it's
I thought I was going to get drunk from the fumes. It
culture is
was so
wild.
much in my face. Fist back. I'm still nervous about it.
Yeah, that's pretty scary, and especially when it was. I mean,
You get kicked off. People went into the
wow.
brig. People got kicked off.
Yeah. So here's a lighter side to that. Do you have a favorite port in that journey, or could you even? I mean, it might be hard to pick.
Well, I think being prayed over by strangers who prayed that my cancer go away
Mhm.
and that I be successful in my journey. It was so lovely. And now we're working with Samoa. They asked us to translate all of our curriculum into Samoan. So if I had to pick what was the most spectacular, special moment for me, that was beautiful. Beautiful. It's like 15 minutes. And I hadn't, had that kind of cleansing, weeping cry. So their beauty and loveliness was huge for me. But my favorite port was the Bay of Islands in New Zealand, the Maori culture. My husband played rugby for South Africa.
Oh wow,
So
wow.
he hated the All Blacks. So he hated New Zealand because that was, their major competition.
Because
But
they were better than him.
if he were,
Sorry.
he's here in spirit. He's saying no,
Yeah.
no. It's because that was their competition. Sometimes South Africa's better. Sometimes New Zealand's better.
Right.
But so I went there with a little bit of like, the All Blacks, the Springboks. But the beauty and the warrior resilient spirit of the Maori people really got to me. And then there's this phrase, aki, 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 which means forever and ever and ever. And that became, Bay of Islands was one of the earlier ports. That just became kind of my safe spot. Like when I encountered stress on the trip, and there's a lot of stress, uh, I would just think Aki, 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 and Bay of Islands and the beauty of those people and the culture, and that was my my happy place.
That is wonderful. And you may have already told me, but this just came to me while I was listening to your. That's a beautiful story. I've been prayed over by Native Americans in kind of the same way through, and it's powerful. Anyone who does that, it's powerful. What was maybe the weirdest thing that happened?
The
And
weirdest.
maybe you just told me. That sounded
Okay.
pretty weird.
So I had a dental emergency. And
Oh,
people, no, that's not right. Yeah, well, that led to the worst. People that know the cruise ship world, if you have any kind of physical issue, you break a bone, you have a cardiac issue, there's especially on Cunard, they've got a big surgery, a big physician's doctor's area. If you have anything dental, you're in big trouble. They are not prepared to help you with any dental emergency. And I sheared off a crown. I was in agony. And come Sydney, I had just a few hours to, on a Friday, get to this dentist, correct the tooth. Otherwise, I was going to miss the boat. And then, here I am, this old sick woman trying to figure out how to get back on a ship ports later. It would have been even more stress. So I'm trying to get off the ship. We were delayed because this brand new ship had some sort of mechanical failure. So instead of getting into the port on time, we were delayed by hours. The window was closing to get to the dentist. Cunard had me standing in this waiting area. And then I was brought out, and the British people apparently love and respect a queue. They respect maybe it goes back to World War II and rations. That's what I was told. They respect it. I was being worked into the line, and all of these lovely fellow passengers started shouting, "You're a line cutter inner, get out." I was being yelled at as I was brought into their line. So that was a very uncomfortable situation. And then being stressed, I just said, "I'm not a line cutter inner." I was just so immature and shouted back. And then the Cunard officer squeezed my shoulder and she said, "Ma'am, if you don't calm down, we're going to have to take you off the ship." And a friend later said, I should have said, "If that'll get me off quicker." But I didn't have the presence of mind. So ultimately I made it, and I literally made it with 1 minute to spare.
Wow, that's it. That gives me anxiety just hearing about it because I've had lots of dental issues, so I can't imagine having problems in that situation. Yeah, I had 7 Novocaine shots one time.
Oof.
It was from my first root canal. I think that was my first. Yeah, it was my very first root canal. But anyway,
Ouch.
yes, it was not painful because it just,
Because you had 7 Novocaine
well,
shots,
so it wasn't painful at all.
but you couldn't swallow or speak.
It was interesting. The dentist had done he thought he could get the cavity done. And I loved my dentist. He's a great guy and he did well by me, but he thought he could do it. He was like, "This is deep, but I think we're fine." And so that was, I think, 2. So that was a regular couple shots, because it was way in the back. And then, so I'm jumping my car, I'm on my way home. It's like, oh no, this is not right. Because I was still under Novocaine. And so I called the office and they said, "Come back, come right back." And so I go back and he gave me a shot of Novocaine and he said, are you doing okay? "Yeah, I'm doing okay now." "Well, we're going to get you right over to the endodontist right now." And which was amazing to me. So he called this genius that does nothing but root canals. And I went over there, and the funny thing, I always crack up. It wasn't funny, but it still cracks me up. They have this test where they take a cold thing. Have you ever had that test? It's like
Yeah.
it's dry ice or something, and they put it against the tooth. And if your tooth, it shouldn't hurt. Like if your tooth is healthy, it won't hurt. Well, I just about leaped out of the chair, and he jumped. He jumped back, and he's like, "Okay, we're going to take care of this right away." And 3 more Novocaine shots, and then. But he was very, like I say, that's all he does. So the root canal was like, bang, bang, boom. This won't bother you again. And I'd
And
never
did,
had one. So I was like, well, I don't mind root canals at all if that's just how it gets done. But yeah, so it was. But when I got home, I was like, wow, that was a lot of Novocaine. Lidocaine, I think it was by that time. But yeah, it was just like, holy mackerel. So that's why, yeah, when I hear that story, I can't imagine that happening on a boat. I would have been. Now I know about, there's something that will numb your gums. I forgot what it's called. There's an herb that you can rub on your gums if you have it. I completely forgot what it's called. It's like a tincture that works like a Novocaine or a Lidocaine. Boy, it'd be good if I could remember what that was.
next,
Anyway, you made it. I got glad you made it.
know,
Glad you made it back. But I know you got to go real quick, but you also started to mention something about Hawaii. Did something also happen in Hawaii?
that was the first packet drop off before we went across and through we went across the Pacific from San Francisco to Hawaii, and then Hawaii to the Pacific Islands beyond. But I thought dropping off at the superintendent's office was going to be the easiest. And no, they did not want my packet. I ran up. I was just like a little kid. I was so excited with my packet to do the first delivery. All the anticipation is like, months before, I couldn't even walk across my apartment. I was so tired. I had a rollator to get around at night. So to be able to walk up steps and go there, and they just flatly refused to take an envelope. And I just, wouldn't take no for an answer. My husband, who was with me in spirit. He wouldn't have taken no for
Hmm.
an answer. So I just said, look, can you call the superintendent? Give them my name, let them Google me, and they'll see I'm a real person. This isn't a bomb. It's a, pieces of paper. You can open it. So he called up, or actually had me call up on my phone, and the superintendent's assistant said, let me call you back. I'm guessing, looked up to see, yes, overcomingobstacles.org. This is a true organization. This is a real person. And she said, I'll come down. You can go. I'll come down. Warm welcome. You can go, and I'll come down and collect your envelope. I didn't get prayed over
Oh
there.
my
I was
gosh, that's unfortunate. That's not
Yeah,
not the aloha spirit that you hope for when you
it
go to
was not
Hawaii.
the Holy Spirit.
It's
And
not.
then my guide
Yeah.
specifically said, this is the kids, there's so many issues. Bullying is a huge problem there. Brain drain in a lot of the places I visited. The kids that grow up there and in some of these other countries like Mauritius, if and when they can, they leave. And then that leaves that area, be it Hawaii or Mauritius, with not a younger generation to lift them up to be part of a vibrant workforce. So he said that I would be welcomed more beautifully in Samoa and in Tonga, and he was right.
Oh,
Those
that is
groups
so
were
that's
were
so
amazing.
interesting.
They're
So interesting.
beautiful.
Yeah. I love Hawaii and I can't afford to live there or I would. And I'm always amazed how many people who grew up there want to leave.
Oh,
But I understand why, because it's a tough place to live. Um, but yeah, I always think, why would you leave paradise when you grew up here? But I guess there are reasons. I don't know.
every city, every
Every,
state, every country, we all have problems. There are a lot of
yeah.
people on the Queen Anne who are looking from the US for new places to retire. And I'll admit that I thought, oh, yeah, Bay of Islands. But ultimately, what I learned on this trip is everyone has issues. And I am retiring back home in Manhattan.
And yeah, everyone has issues. That's true. We
Yeah.
we really like where we are because it's a very quiet neighborhood. We went crazy here first. This was years ago, but when we first moved here, we moved here from LA and it was too quiet. It just was like suddenly there's no noise. Like nothing. Yeah. So that took a minute to get used to, but now we're very used to it and, sometimes we stay at a hotel that has a little bit of noise, and we're just like, what was that?
Because you
What
are used to it.
was
Where,
that?
where in LA?
Uh,
Where
well, it's LA, we were everywhere. We were in Culver City. That's first. Well, I moved to San Bernardino for a few months with a girlfriend, and then I moved to Culver City where I met my future wife, and then we moved to Hollywood, and then Mission Hills was the longest we were. So Mission Hills, we were there for the Northridge earthquake. That was quite
oh
exciting.
gosh.
Yeah, that was
Well, I
that
have to
was nutty.
say that I'm sorry about that. That was horrible.
Yeah.
But being on Queen Anne when the Palisades fire hit,
Oh
so
gosh.
that really triggered a lot for me because that's
Hmm.
where I spent most of my growing up years, and my childhood home burnt down, my school, my library, the places where we played, friends' homes burnt down. So that really was what triggered for me a lot of memories that started the Packets of Hope memoir journey for me. And, for
Oh,
me, that was
interesting.
memories. For so many people, their lives were destroyed. It was just horrible.
Well, I look at the size. I was just there. I didn't go to that area, but I was just in Burbank for flight simulator stuff. And when I look at the area that was burned, because there's still a lot of stories about it, I mean, that would be my whole neighborhood as well. The neighborhood I lived in would just be, it would be all of it. Yeah, I don't know. That's so hard to deal with. I know some people who've lost their homes before. And we've had towns burn, as you probably know, we've had towns burned down here, very, very close by, where for forest fires have just taken, no, that town doesn't exist anymore. And yeah, it's a lot to deal with. The people I know who've lost, several people I know who've lost homes, realized, luckily, that it was just stuff. it wasn't, they survived and they were okay, but they lost all of their possessions, and they really seemed like they were pretty good about it. But it's hard to
Well,
imagine
a
losing
lot of
everything
people
like
in the
that.
Palisades,
Yeah.
I mean, our home caught fire in that 1978 fire,
Hmm.
and my dad and I were on the roof hosing it down. Had we lost it, we would have lost everything, and a lot of people did.
Yeah.
My sister's a
Yeah.
real estate broker, and so she's got these clients where, where do you go from that? You were underinsured.
Right.
It's
Right.
your life has changed very dramatically, but the skills for resilience, you started by talking about resilience. And for me, that's the journey right there for people to learn how to be resilient. And that's what life skills education does, how to navigate change, how to be a good communicator, decision maker, set your goals. Those are the keys to resilience, surrounding yourself with positive people that are the wind beneath your wings. There you
And those
go.
skills are so important, because it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have big life things are going to happen. It's life. You're going to lose people, you're going to lose possessions, things are going to change, you're going to gain a new job. Everything you can require a lot of resilience, right? It, like, all kinds of things, and unexpected things especially. I mean, I think I know I'd still have PTSD from COVID, and going through that. Uh, so that's kind of a big example where it affected the world, the entire world, which nothing in my lifetime, nothing has happened like that. And I mean, I'm sure the people got through World War II and World War One. Um, that that was a similar kind of a thing where everyone was affected by it in some way. When you lose so many people and just so much. Yeah. So resilience is very. I mean, it's great that we're trying to teach that at a young age. Teach that the earlier the better, right?
And we are,
Earlier,
and
yeah,
it's working. And I know we had talked about time, but one of the nurses, when I was in the hospital, they couldn't help me with my pain management. I was going down the slippery slope of taking an oxy. I was doing the Tylenol, Advil, alternating, and the pain had become excruciating, having half my lung removed. And
yeah,
I was ready. I pushed the little button. The night nurse comes in. And instead of giving me the pain pill, she asked me questions about the pain. She analyzed me and what was causing the pain. And ultimately, she just loosened the bandage on my back and put a pillow behind me. And that was the difference. And she engaged in conversation. And one of her first questions was, "Are you retired?" I said, "No, I'm a life skills ambassador." And she said, "I learned life skills when I was in middle school." I was like, "Really? Tell me about it." And she told me her journey with life skills. And I said, "Do you think it helped you?" She said, "It got me where I am today." And for me, Joel, it was having the best nurse on the planet come
yeah.
in and save me from taking hard drugs. And absolutely, without a doubt, because we tracked her school through our database, the life skills she learned when she was in middle school was from an overcoming obstacles teacher. So all of this work that's been going on since 1992, I never expected to have these young people, adults, taking care of me and impacting my life. But she's one of several that I have now met that are part of that positive people journey for me.
That's so
And very,
amazing. And thank God it was her, because it wasn't very long ago that doctors and nurses would just give you the pain meds, like there, and for her to take the time to figure out, is there another thing we can do besides give you that? I had mysterious back pain for years and shoulder pain. Well, I figured out through Dr. Google it was frozen shoulder, and then the shoulder doctor agreed with me. It's like, thanks. I really wish you made that discovery, not me. Anyway, I was years on hydrocodone, and I would try to take the smallest. But it's how I also realized that I am not a addicted personality, because I always thought I would be, because of my family history. But I would take the smallest amount possible. And when I was able to, the stuff's, to me, it's terrible. So, getting addicted to the stuff, it's, you want a different experience than I did. I guess I'll put it that way. I did not want that experience. But I was in so much pain. It was like, am I going to sleep or am I going to take some medication? And the sleep is never as good anyway, but it's better than not, than just staying up and not being able to sleep at all. But yeah. So I think that's just why it's great that, and I think it's happening more. I think more people are realizing that strong medications are not the way to go. There's too many side effects.
People need it, and
some people need it.
That's horrible, and that's sad. But I clearly wasn't one of those, and I was just grateful that this young woman, this nurse, this person came in and just asked me some simple questions, and all I needed was a bandage loosened.
That's really amazing. It just really is. That's a great story. Well, unfortunately, I know you have to handle some other things. So we are going to end this podcast now. I want to thank everyone for listening, and make sure you share this with your friends. I've heard recently that if other people share the podcast, more people listen to it. So I want to say, share it with your friends. Today has been Jill Chalsty, and you can find all her information in the show notes. Definitely get her book. Spread hope everywhere, and help. If there's any way you can help younger people or older people. Older people need life skills too, I think. Everyone does.
We all do.
Yeah, we all do. So thank you so much for listening. And as I always say, be good to each other. And thank you for listening, and be good to yourselves.